I've been playing way too many licensed games lately. We had Dragon Ball, Tony Hawk, Power Rangers. It's too much, man. I need to get back to my roots and play something weird. Something that isn't tied to any existing brand or franchise. So I took a deep dive into my collection to bring you Darkened Skye. I didn't even know I owned this game, but it looks like a badass RPG, so I'm in. The box art immediately sets my expectations pretty high.
You are Skye of Linlora, recruited as hero number 1 in the battle against evil. Wield powerful magic, solve ancient mysteries, and save the world.
Well, I'm hyped. Let's not waste any more time and bust this open. Well, that's weird. I wonder what that means. Pretty much as soon as we hit the start button, the game just throws everything at us. Like, what the hell is happening here? The music is swelling, this medallion is flying at us, and are we having visions acted out by live-action people? Surely they'll explain all this, right? Eventually, the camera zooms out enough, and we see our protagonist Skye waking from whatever fever dream she was just lost in. She is apparently speaking to her mother, who is dead, missing, and they never really specify. She does, however, spend a lot of time dropping exposition to nobody.
Where are you? Why didn't you return from that voyage? What's the meaning of this talisman you left me?
Skye here is sick of her lot in life as a Dwentle herder. A what herder? A Dwentle. You know, this thing. In fact, she's so sick of it, she even jokes about killing herself.
Please, because if hurting Dwentles is my destiny, I'm putting in for early reincarnation.
Then this happens.
Bet you think you're right smart.
Jesus, I didn't realize this was a horror game. These two giants, trolls, goblins, ugly dudes. They're carrying another thing and making fun of him for wearing brightly colored shoes. So they beat the shit out of him. Skye ponders if soon things like breathing and smiling will be outlawed next, when suddenly a brightly colored rainbow scares off her Dwentle.
Come back, you stupid Dwentle. Where are you going?
Geez, don't yell so loud, you might wake the neighbors. I know that the voice actress behind Skye can act. After all, she's voiced by Linda Larkin, aka the voice of Princess Jasmine from Aladdin.
Did you think I was stupid?
This obviously isn't her strongest work, but that might not entirely be her fault. Anyways, Skye follows her Dwentle back into the woods where she finds a glowing orange gemstone marked with the symbol of an S. Wait a second. It couldn't be. She picks up the gemstone and creepy stuff starts happening all around her. Fade to what looks like hell, where this thing, I don't even have a guess as to what it is, but it walks up to this door and tells its lord Nekroth that a girl has found an orange one. Nekroth responds to his lackey in a level-headed manner by setting him on fire. You know, because he's evil. Title screen! If that made sense to you, please give yourself a round of applause because I've watched this intro about 100 times and it only barely makes sense to me. I'm not even sure what the tone is supposed to be. One second they're making lighthearted jokes about suicide and the next we're showing someone crying after having been sucker punched in the face. But enough of the intro cinematic. We're talking about a game, not a movie. Things kick off rather abruptly as we're dropped into the world, and I mean literally dropped. And as soon as I get control of the character, I can tell that something isn't right here. The game doesn't explain anything to you and just expects you to figure things out. Now usually I'd be okay with that, providing the game taught you its mechanics through gameplay. Instead, Darkened Skye takes the much less intuitive approach of, "F you, you'll figure it out." Let me illustrate one of the things that Darkened Skye does wrong. Now imagine for a second that I was giving you a quiz and asked you which one of these buttons was the jump button. You could probably make a guess with some degree of certainty that it was either the A button or maybe B. Well, you fail. Because in Darkened Skye, the jump button is the right trigger. I don't know if you've ever used a GameCube controller, but there is all this travel in the triggers, and the game doesn't detect a jump until the trigger is all the way down. This isn't the only problem though. Alright, time for another fun trivia question. Now tell me, which button is the attack button? Oh, actually yeah, it is the left trigger. But just because you made an educated guess based on previous circumstances doesn't make it any less stupid. You win this round. The rest of the controls are equally bad. The game plays like a third-person shooter where your staff shoots spells, but the little nub that is the GameCube C-Stick makes aiming really hard, so I miss a solid 60% of the time, 80% of the time, almost all the time. This is made even worse by the fact that enemies take a million goddamn hits to kill. Look at this bullshit! In the meantime, they can just wail on you or repeatedly fire projectiles, most of which track you and will spin around you forever until you're finally hit by them. Let's get back to the plot for a bit. We set off into the world of Linlora and are immediately accosted by this funny little imp named Drac.
Call me Drac, though Necroth would call me Dim Sum right about now.
Oh good. This is going to be one of those games. Yes, in fact, Darkened Skye take pretty much every opportunity they have to break the fourth wall.
Oh, come on, we can't do this puzzle till later.
How do you know?
I read the script.
Our first mission,
Fight our way to the village or die trying.
when I finally make it there, I'm not really sure what to do next. What do I do? What do I do? Everything about this game so far would lead you to believe it's a character action game where combat is the main focus. Wrong. Turns out, this is an adventure game. Well, sometimes. Other times it's a super frustrating platformer. Most of the time it's a punishing, unfair piece of crap. But right now, it's an adventure game. What we need to do is go back to this tree and look inside to find this little guy. I guess the sound here was supposed to be a clue, but I thought it was coming from this dimensional tear in the wall that Darkened Skye literally stopped to talk about when they approach it. How was I supposed to know that the sound wasn't coming from there? So we pick up this... Look, I'm not even gonna try and guess what every creature in this game is supposed to be. Most of them are really ugly and don't resemble anything I've seen before. So we take it and deliver it to this trader who gives us a glowing goldfish that lets us light up this dark cave. And written on the wall of that cave is the password to get access to the rebel leader. That was super convoluted. The leader of the resistance is this old wise woman named Ganesh, who explains that the orange object we found is actually well, it's better if she says it.
That, my strange young sapling, is a Skittles.
Oh, that explains everything. Yeah, you see, this is actually a licensed game after all. Hidden underneath all this deep gameplay is actually a commercial for Skittles. Though you'd never guess that by looking at the box. For a licensed game, you'd expect to see the Skittles logo or the product in the box, but the only indication that this is a game about Skittles is the tiny fine print on the back of the box. I should probably take a second just to say that this video isn't sponsored by Skittles, but I'm open to it. In the world of Darkened Skye, Skittles aren't consumed, but are instead used as the catalyst for strange and powerful magics. And boy does this game give you a lot of spells. Everything from shooting fire and ice, shrinking yourself to the size of a mouse, and even the ability to fly. I never used half of these. Before setting off on our real adventure, we're introduced to one more character, the mysterious and charming rogue Dorian. Throughout our adventure, it's heavily implied that he is probably a bad guy, but it's laid on so thick it's super obvious that he's a good guy all along. Regardless, he shows up from time to time to add some tension to the story. But now it's our mission to travel across 5 worlds, collect a metric ton of Skittles, and defeat the Dark Lord Necroth in order to restore the rainbow. So you remember how I said this was a commercial for Skittles? Well, it turns out that the worlds we're traveling to are actually based on classic commercials for Skittles from the 90s. First up is that one about the wizard, who is supposed to be Merlin. The first real level of this game perfectly demonstrates one of the biggest issues I have with it. Turns out that despite all her skills and magic, Skye can't swim.
I'm a warrior, hero, adventurer, goddess who can't swim, okay?
To this point, the developers of the game decided to put water everywhere. Mix this with the horrible jumping controls I mentioned earlier, and you've got all the right ingredients to piss off the person playing it. It's only missing one thing. If only they made it so every time you died, you went back to the very start of the level, regardless of how far you made it. Oh, wait. Yeah, they did do that. Yeah, there are no checkpoints in this game. You could make it to the boss of the level, get killed, and now have to start at the very beginning. For God's sake, the original Super Mario Bros. Had checkpoints. How do you mess this up so badly? Luckily, this can be remedied by the fact that you can save the game at any point. I would say I spent more time staring at this screen than I did actually playing the game. In any other game, I would feel like I was cheating by doing this, but you know what? I don't care. If this game is gonna play dirty, I will too. After much platforming, we finally make our way to Merlin. No, not this guy. This is our reoccurring villain of the game. He is the right-hand man of Necroth and is constantly showing up to egg us on or monologue at us. You might have noticed I haven't said his name yet. Yeah, in fact, in the instructions of the game, he's just labeled as Mysterious Enemy, so that's fun. After he taunts us enough, Merlin shows up and electrocutes the shit out of him, scaring him off for the time being. Merlin explains that our mother is a hero of the rebellion, and it's up to us to follow in her footsteps and save the world. This would probably be huge motivation if Ganesh hadn't already sent us on our world-saving mission before. So he pieces out and we never see him again. From this point on, it's all about collecting the 5 gemstones of the rainbow. And to do that, we have to travel all over the world, meeting exotic people, collecting stuff, and fighting ridiculous bosses. Sometimes the same boss 4 different times, because the game wasn't long enough, I guess. And just in case you've forgotten what kind of game this is, don't worry, it takes every opportunity to remind you.
Now, if this were an adventure game, I would just take it, for no apparent reason, in full view of the princess, who wouldn't say a word. I keep forgetting, this is an adventure game.
Most of these jokes are more missed than hit, but there is one that made me audibly chuckle. At one point of the game, you see this key floating above lava, and Skye says,
Now I'm just supposed to reach out like an idiot, burn my hand on the red-hot key, and say something lame like, "Ow, I can't take that, it's too hot." Give me a little credit, huh?
Now, obviously, you're supposed to use ice magic to cool the key so you can pick it up. But if you don't, Skye says,
Ow, I can't take that, it's too hot.
It's a simple joke, but it works, and I think that if more of the humor was like this, it might be a little more enjoyable. Our journey takes us through many locales. We overthrow an evil warlord in the far-off land of Zenjai, resurrect a long-dead princess and her trusted horse companion, and restore happiness to the ancient guardian of the forest by delivering him the gift of... Dude, do you mind? Can you stop that? Okay, by delivering him the gift of music. Unfortunately, in the process, our partner in crime Drac disappears for some reason. Again, this game is bad at explaining things, but it's too late to turn back now and we must travel on alone, for it's time for us to finally take on Necroth's fortress and put an end to his tyranny once and for all. After a long and grueling journey, I mean seriously, this is ridiculous! We finally made it to the heart of Necroth's stronghold, only to finally be reunited with our mother. Turns out she wasn't dead, and instead has just been held captive and tortured for years on end. Yay, happy endings. We don't spend much time getting to know Skye's mom, but pretty much every interaction we have with her, she tells us how much she hates men.
Never trust a man who says, "Trust me." See what happens, Skye, when you trust a man who says, "Trust me."
Mom, I know you have trouble trusting men after what happened to you, but come on.
Geez, okay, I get it, Mom. After that touching reunion, we are touchingly reunited with Dorian. If only Drac were here to fill that goblin-sized hole in my heart. What? Plot twist! So it turns out Dorian is Drac. Necroth transformed him into that ugly demon thing, and all those times we saw the two of them, we were actually seeing through the magic and to his true self. I really wish they explained things better in this game, but at least I filled that goblin-sized hole with a man. I should really read these scripts before I film them. At long last,
Mysterious enemy
returns with a vengeance, and we learn just why our mother hates men so much. Because this dude is actually our daddy, and he's a huge dick. To prove it, he transforms into a giant dragon. So we lend some of our magic to Mama, and she beats the crap out of him. We can also try giving some of our magic to Dorian, but Mom lectures us about trusting men again if we do, so let's not. Once we've murdered our father, we have to leave Mama Skye and Dorian behind to face Necroth in one-on-one combat. But it turns out we're too big to fit in his castle. The joke is that Necroth is a small boy, which really shouldn't matter because he single-handedly conquered the world regardless of his size. The final fight with Necroth is just as underwhelming as the rest of this game. We use our magic to get past his traps, and when he tries to heal up, we use our rainbow powers to put an end to his evil for good. Necroth's world falls to pieces, and somehow we end up on this magical hillside. Ganesh tells us to restore the power of the rainbow, and it doesn't work. Oh well, let's go home, everyone. Evil's vanquished, and we really don't need a rainbow, so job well done. But wait, turns out there's another way. Mom tells us to shoot our magic power directly at her, killing her, but bringing back the rainbow's magic at the same time. They really should have tried something else. They resort to murder way quicker than I think anyone should. But it works. The rainbow's back. Skye just had to murder both her parents to do it. This is a Skittles game with both patricide and matricide. Taste the rainbow, kids. After killing her mother, Skye decides to have a sweet makeout sesh with her demon man friend Dorian.
That's one way to taste the rainbow. All right, that's enough. You can stop tasting now. You can stop.
The end. What? What just happened? That's not how you end a story. I'm starting to see why maybe Skittles didn't want their brand all over the cover of this game. While looking into the development of this game, I found some conflicting stories. The first says that the developers wanted to make a Skittles game. And the second says they were told to make a Skittles game. And when they turned in the script, they were asked to change 3 things: a single joke, foul language, and remove all snakes from the game. Why? Unfortunately, much like the plot of this game, real-life explanations are lacking. Darkened Skye is a frustrating, unfair mess of a game, but I kind of love it. Now, this could just be Stockholm Syndrome talking, but there's something endearing about this game. I don't think I'd play it again, but it's a quirky piece of gaming history that I think deserves to be talked about. At the very least, it's taught me one thing, and that's that the path of power is paved in Skittles, and I want to be unstoppable. Oh my god, I got Skittles everywhere. Oh my god. I hope that take was good enough. I'm not doing that again. Another weird game, another weird video. Thanks for checking this out, and if you liked it, or even if you only moderately enjoyed it, then do me a favor. That red subscribe button down there, click it. I dare ya. In case you wanted to check out more of my stuff, here's 2 more videos. You can also find my social media somewhere if you look hard enough. Until next time, peace.